best team you've eyeballed, though, in person this year is which team?
I would have said, so it's still probably a true statement, Denver, because I haven't eyeballed Denver in the playoffs and in this series with Minnesota. So I had Denver as kind of the team. I'm really shocked at what's happened to them. And I know they're banged up, and Murray's injury is a big one. I'm not surprised by Minnesota and how great they've been. I just didn't think they'd go in and dominate Denver. So I will say Denver, and I'll stick with that, even though it doesn't feel great right now.
No.
But in the East, Boston for sure. Boston, we had Boston, Miami, and those games were a drag. I mean, Boston just, other than game 2 when Miami shot the lights out and made 23 threes, which was a good game, but Boston, in all of their wins, it was a no contest literally in the first half in most of those games, and they kind of did the same thing yesterday. So Celtics, to me, look formidable. They can beat you in so many ways. And we'll see if Denver can come off the mat. I think the Murray injury is going to be really interesting to see how he can play through this, if he can be effective at all. Probably needs a few days. He probably could have used a 1-game suspension, but I think he could probably use a window. But I don't know if they have time to give him a window. But I had Denver and Boston all year.
Well, and in terms of Anthony Edwards, I mean, it's somebody who chooses words for a living live like you do. I think you'll appreciate. I think the only word to use appropriately with what Anthony Edwards is doing is what we are witnessing. I think that's the proper word, because you get the sense of we are witnessing something with him, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are on that subject matter.
Yeah, I feel like we obviously, the Michael Jordan comps come to mind, and there's a great debate offline about Michael Jordan or not, but the things he's doing are Jordan-like, and I think it's fair to talk about that. And, both sides of the ball too. And MJ was such a great defender. So that's what's so impressive about Anthony Edwards and how young he is. And he's just kind of the perfect NBA player for this modern game. He's got all the swagger, but he's got great respect for opponents and opposing players. And he says all the right things. He's hilarious. And he's great. And he's showing up when the lights are the brightest right now. So all in on Anthony Edwards. He looks like he's got a great career. I remember Tom Crean, who was his coach at Georgia, used to tell us, and I'm friendly with Tom, and he raved about this guy when he was at the collegiate level briefly, but he just said, this guy's got it. He was referencing Dwayne Wade, who he coached at Marquette. And there's very few guys that have the it factor, and he's certainly got it. And I think there have been a few guys the last few years. The Joker comes to mind. He kind of emerged as a second rounder that became this great player, and he still is a great player. But it does feel like a little bit of a changing of the guard right now in the NBA. And these great young talented players, names that haven't been on the register here in the last few years, are starting to stake their claim here to the NBA and what it's going to be in the next few seasons, maybe even the next decade. And Edwards is at the top of that list right now, in my opinion.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.